Let's start with a number that, well, it should make every legal counsel in Silicon Valley sit up straight. $1.5 billion.
Ooh, yeah.
That is the staggering figure. Anthropic, one of the biggest players, right, in the AI race, they just paid out to resolve claims from authors and publishers, a huge group.
It's massive. And this payment isn't just, writing a big check. It feels like a seismic event, a really crucial moment in this whole legal fight between AI models and intellectual property.
Absolutely. So our mission today for this deep dive is really to unpack the sources around this preliminary court approval.
Exactly. We need to look at the sheer size of that number, sure. But maybe even more importantly, we have to get our heads around the very specific legal nuance here. That's what allowed the settlement to happen, and that distinction. It has huge implications for the whole AI industry, like right now.
Yeah, that nuance sounds key.
It's where the precedent is being set, really.
Okay, let's get straight into it then, because the basic facts are pretty wild. We've got U.S. District Judge William Alsup. He granted preliminary approval for this massive settlement. This was in San Francisco federal court.
Right.
And the case involved something like 465,000 books, approximately, that Anthropic allegedly, pirated.
Nearly 500,000 works. That's the claim. Pirated to train its Claude chatbot, their main model.
Wow, 500,000.
And that number, 465,000, it's critical because it directly shapes the payout structure, And it just shows the scale of the alleged historical infringement we're talking about.
Right. If you're an author or a publisher involved in this, that number really underlines the seriousness of it all.
Exactly.
So that brings us right into the anatomy of the settlement itself. Let's talk money per book.
Okay.
The sources are confirming that this $1.5 billion settlement means authors and publishers. They'll get roughly $3,000 for each book covered.
Yeah, about $3,000 per work, which, that's substantial recovery by almost any measure in these kinds of cases.
It really is, especially, like you said, compared to the usual uncertainty or, frankly, low returns you often see in these big IP class actions.
Definitely. This is meant to send a strong financial signal. But, and that's a big but, we have to stress, this deal only covers past works.
Ah, okay.
The ones that were, according to the claim, already pirated and used. It's not some kind of blanket license for them to use future works or even keep using these ones indefinitely.
Got it. So it's about settling the past, not licensing the future. What's Anthropic saying about cutting this enormous check? Are they upset? Relieved?
Well, publicly anyway, they seem pretty content with the approval.
Really? Content with $1.5 billion going out the door?
Well, pleased was the word they used. The San Francisco-based company said they're pleased because it lets them shift their focus back to developing what they call safe AI systems.
Okay. Safe AI systems that help people and businesses.
Right. So they seem to view it as resolving an expensive distraction. Lets them get back to the main goal, building the tech.
Okay, now, here's where you said it gets really interesting. The essential aha moment for anyone watching the whole AI fair use debate.
Yes. This is it.
Anthropic explicitly maintained, and the court didn't challenge this, that the court's earlier kind of landmark June ruling, the one that found AI training is transformative fair use. That ruling still stands.
That's the absolute core of it. The legal tightrope walk, really. This settlement did not overturn the basic idea that feeding copyrighted stuff into an AI model specifically for training is generally okay under fair use.
Because it's transformative.
Exactly. The court agreed the AI isn't just copying the book, it's learning language patterns, connections, changing the purpose of the original work. It's using the text to build like a prediction engine, not to republish the story.
Okay, hold on. If the training itself is legally protected as fair use, why on earth did Anthropic just shell out $1.5 billion?
Right. It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? Like a Pyrrhic victory? But this is that crucial legal hinge point we talked about. The settlement resolves what Anthropic called, quote, narrow claims about how certain materials were obtained.
Ah, how they got the books, not how they used them for training.
Precisely. Remember Judge Alsup's mixed ruling back in June? He basically said, yes, the training part looks like fair use, but no, the way you acquired the books, that wasn't legal.
So you have to separate the two actions. The use of the data in the model, legally okay, transformative. But the initial sourcing, getting the data in the first place, not okay.
Exactly right. Anthropic was found, or at least strongly alleged and settled, based on the idea that they'd wrongfully acquired millions of books through pirate websites.
Pirate websites, okay.
So think of it like this. The machine, the AI model, was legal tech. But the fuel they used, that pirated dataset, was essentially stolen goods. The problem wasn't the training process. It was the illegal route they took to get the data to train with.
Wow. Okay, that really flips the script on what maybe a lot of AI companies assumed was okay, especially in the early days.
You think?
So the message is, you can use data transformatively, but you can't just scrape it from illegal sources to begin with. That sets a pretty clear boundary for the whole tech sector now, doesn't it?
A very clear and very expensive boundary. And it makes the headlines, Anthropic pays $1.05 for AI training, slightly misleading.
How so?
They're not paying because the model exists or was trained. They're paying for the alleged malpractice in how they source the training data, historically. It's a subtle but massive difference legally.
Gotcha. Okay, so moving to how the industry reacted. This clarity, even though it came with a huge price tag, it was strongly welcomed by the authors and publishers, the plaintiffs.
Oh, absolutely. The Authors Guild, which was a big player in this lawsuit, they called the settlement a milestone in authors fighting back against what they see as theft by AI companies.
A milestone. And they think this sends a signal.
A very clear signal, in their words, that infringement like this comes at a steep price. And they hope or believe this will push AI companies towards, doing things properly, getting legal licenses.
Right. Making deals with authors and publishers instead of just taking...
Era of scraping pirate sites for free training data has to be over now. That's the message they see here.
And the publisher's perspective. Similar, I assume.
Similar, yes, but maybe widening the lens a bit. The Association of American Publishers, the AAP, they called it a major step in the right direction, holding AI developers accountable for reckless and unabashed infringement. Strong words.
Reckless and unabashed. Okay.
And here's where we get a really crucial bit of insight, suggesting this isn't just about Anthropic.
Oh.
The source is, quote, the AAP president and CEO, Maria Palante. And she states, pretty unequivocally, Anthropic is hardly a special case.
Whoa. Okay, that implies...
It implies this practice, sourcing data from questionable places, might be widespread across the industry.
Did she elaborate?
She did. She alleged that, quote, every other major AI developer has trained their models on the backs of authors and publishers, often getting materials from the same, quote, notorious infringing sites.
Okay, that really connects the dots for you, doesn't it? If that's true.
If that's true, then this Anthropic settlement might just be the first big domino to fall. It sets a massive financial precedent.
For every other AI company that maybe used similar methods for their early training data.
Exactly. If the way they got the data was illegal, even if the training itself is fair use, then potentially a whole wave of legal accountability could be coming for those past data sourcing practices across the board.
And what about the individual authors? We heard from the guilds, but the people who actually wrote the books.
Yeah, their sentiment really backs up this push for accountability. One of the plaintiffs, Andrea Bartz, she's a best-selling thriller novelist. She said she strongly supports the settlement.
And her message.
She wants to send the message, basically. You are not above the law, and our intellectual property isn't yours for the taking. So the plaintiffs feel like they got both money and maybe some regulatory leverage here.
Okay, so the money is approved, the principle is set.
Right.
But now we have to talk about actually getting that money to the authors, right? That sounds like a nightmare.
The huge logistical challenge.
Yeah.
We have to pivot from the massive dollar amount to the immense task of distribution. And this is something the judge was very focused on.
Judge Alsop's concerns, right.
He himself called the distribution complicated, which might be an understatement.
Probably.
His main worry seemed to be about the claims process, making sure everyone who is eligible actually finds out about it, knows how to claim, so authors don't, in his words, get the shaft.
Get the shaft. Okay, blunt. He was focused on procedural fairness, due process for every single writer or rights holder involved.
And what really stood out to me was his concern about potential power imbalances within the whole publishing world,
How so?
Well, you have to remember, IP rights, especially for books, can be really complex. Who actually holds the relevant rights for an older book? Is it the author, the publisher, the agent?
Yeah.
Some combination?
Right. Contracts from decades ago might dictate who gets what, or who even has the right to claim.
Precisely. So even if the money's there, getting it to the actual individual author, especially maybe lesser known or older authors, could be tricky.
And the judge was worried about that.
Yeah, he specifically raised concerns that big groups, like the Authors Guild or the AAP, might somehow work behind the scenes, maybe pressure some authors, particularly the lesser-known ones, into accepting the settlement without fully grasping their options, like the option to opt out and maybe sue individually.
He wanted to protect the little guy, basically, from getting pushed around by the bigger organizations involved in the settlement.
That seems to be the spirit of it, making sure the process is fair for everyone, not just convenient for the lawyers or the organizations.
Which is totally understandable, right? Given we're talking about nearly 500,000 books, that's got to involve tens of thousands of individual authors, publishers, agents, all under different contracts. It's a bureaucratic maze.
A massive legal and financial bureaucracy, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did the lawyers say to reassure him?
Well, the attorneys for the authors, they tried to assure the judge they've designed a pretty sophisticated system for notification.
Okay.
They said it provides robust notice to everyone involved, and they argued in their filings that the system is, quote, consistent with due process, that it respects existing contracts, and, well, they think they'll get a high claims rate.
Because the payout per book is decent.
Exactly. That $3,000 per book makes it pretty attractive for people to actually go through the process of claiming it.
Okay, so it sounds like a logistical minefield, but hopefully one they can navigate transparently.
Yep.
It's legally required, after all.
Right. And just one final note about the judge himself, Judge Alsop. It's worth mentioning he's apparently planning to step down from the bench by the end of the year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that adds a bit of context, maybe some urgency to getting this landmark case finalized now, locking in that critical distinction about sourcing versus training before he departs.
Absolutely. It gives this settlement a feeling of finality. At least regarding Anthropic's historical piracy issue, it clearly establishes that precedent. AI training might be fair use, but you still need to get your data legally, period. Regardless of how transformative your amazing AI model is.
So if we boil this whole deep dive down, the key takeaway seems to be this really carefully achieved balance, right?
I think so. On one hand, the court ruling that AI training can be transformative fair use, that's still intact. And that's a huge win for AI development for the tech side. But getting the materials for that training illegally, that now comes with a potentially massive price tag, $1.5 billion in this case. The signal couldn't be clearer. AI companies have to clean up how they get their data.
The days of just grabbing stuff from pilot sites for training, those seem decisively over.
You'd certainly hope so after this.
Okay, which brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. Think about this. The sources in our discussion really highlight that this settlement only covers past works, and that fair use ruling about the training method still stands.
Right. So if the AI industry is now legally forced, or at least very strongly incentivized, to acquire all existing works legally through licenses, deals, whatever, what kind of pressure does that put on the future price and the availability of licensed data needed to train the next generation of AI models? Yeah, that's the big question looming now, isn't it? If $1.5 billion covers less than 500,000 allegedly pirated books, what's the legitimate license cost going to be when the next models need, say, tens of millions of texts, documents, images?
What's the fair market price for legally sourced training data at scale? That's the billion-dollar or maybe trillion-dollar question the entire industry faces tomorrow.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.